So, today I'm going to revisit the aspect of the second promise that was promised to the sons of Israel by God in the book. And this book is obviously the book with God. It's written in that, the mother of all books, the mother of the book, which contains everything in it. And we are in that book as well. It's a live book with our live books in it. So, for those who do not understand or do not have the knowledge of the sons of Israel, which are commonly known as the Jews, but are not just the Jews, are the Jews and the Christians. And they came from the grandson of Abraham, our father, who was called Jacob or Israel, and his 12 sons. One of them was Joseph, who became the king of Egypt in the end. So this is the story of these sons of Israel, who are the chosen ones of God for His grace above all the knowing from mankind. So what happened when this story began is God promised them that they would war in the earth twice, and they would be high in the earth, highness great, and they would be destroyed twice, both times. So one of those promises has absolutely occurred without a doubt. The other one, people can argue about it, but in my judgment, that promise is now coming upon us, upon the sons of Israel, as it stands on the earth today. Now, if you go back after Joseph's story, which is written in all the books of God, especially the Quran and the Injil and the Torah, that's explained in those books. So when that all finished, the sons of Israel established the earth, and they became high in the earth. And in the end, they warred, and they were great highness. And God destroyed them all because of their transgression, as He does with all generations. So before that, obviously before Abraham, there was Noah. And all the progeny on the earth is from Noah, because only his family was saved, not all of them. His woman is burning in the fire. One of his sons is burning in the fire. God brought out other generations after them, and He destroyed them till Abraham, and then came Isaac, Ishmael, Lot, Jacob, Joseph, and all the line that came down from that. And from then on, everybody who is a believer follows Abraham, with no exception. If you are a believer and you think you don't follow Abraham, or you believe you do not follow Abraham, and someone else is higher than Abraham, then you cannot be a believer. It's impossible. Jesus, the Messiah, Moses and Muhammad are all His followers. So are all of the rest of us messengers of God. We are His followers, Abraham's followers. We rally around Abraham. It is his nation that we are commanded to follow. And all the messengers belong to that nation, and all the prophets and all the believers after Abraham. So when this whole thing occurred, after Joseph became king of Egypt, and the sons of Israel went through the years after that, or centuries, they eventually were destroyed by God's command, obviously. The pharaohs took over, but it's not because God didn't want it. God wanted it. That's why it happened. It did not happen because God did not want it. Nothing happens that God does not want. That's an impossibility. So that they were destroyed, and then they were told to establish the earth. And that when the second promise came, He would bring them together again, the sons of Israel, and they would be destroyed again. So they would have to come together, and then they would be destroyed. So right now they all have come together over the last century to century and a half, and they are high in the earth, and there's no doubt that they are warring severely in the earth, and they think that they rule the earth somehow, and from there people are wretched, wicked rejectors and enemies of God and His messengers who are ruling the earth today. And they think they are gods, and they're going to become gods if they're not gods, and they're going to live forever. And they're in for a big surprise soon. It will come to them from where they do not perceive. Those who know the Torah from the sons of Israel, they know what's coming. They are aware of this. Most of them are unaware, and most of these who hold the Quran are unaware. Those who have a little knowledge of it are actually the Christians. I've heard Christians talk about the destruction that is about to come over the sons of Israel. And they are all the Christians, so-called Christians and so-called Jews on the earth are the sons of Israel. They will be destroyed. All this hegemony that is on the earth will be destroyed. There's no way out of this. No matter what kind of defenses they put up, the destruction of God will come upon them from where they do not perceive, and any destruction they want to destroy or stop, and they try, and they perceive that's the destruction, and they're able to stop that, is not going to prevent the actual destruction coming to them in the end. I mean, this is something that those who have a heart and understand how God actually works should know that. I mean, there's no two things about it. They will be destroyed. And this aspect of the second promise is clearly depicted in chapter 17 of the Quran, which is called The Journey, or in Arabic, Al-Isra. And I'm going to go through a couple of places where it depicts what's going to happen and how it was written. But I wanted to give you a preface before I show you those signs and explain how the Quran is saying this. So the biggest event, just to reiterate, the biggest event that is going to come before the actual punishment, I mean this might also be a punishment, but the massive punishment of God, the actual destruction of a generation, which may not be this one or maybe the next one, is going to be the smoke when it comes. So, but before that, these people who run around calling themselves the Western society, and people who live in Israel and Europe and North South America and Australia, all these people and their kin in Africa and wherever else, all these people are going to be decimated by God. And it's written in the book. I mean, I'm not the one making these judgments. I'm just giving you the message. If you don't like it, that is not my problem. I'm here to deliver the message. So what will happen? They will be destroyed, and around that time, I believe, the Messiah will return. Now, that is not, I'm not saying that's for sure. That's what I believe, and it points more or less to that aspect, that He either will come before that punishment or destruction on the sons of Israel, or before the smoke will come, or after, somewhere around that time, the Messiah will return. And the actual end of this creation will start occurring after that, once Jesus returns. People can argue about it or not. Now, the aspect of whether the second promise has already come or not, you can argue, you can say that, Solomon was high in the earth, and, the sons of Israel were high, but the Quran talks about a second promise when it will come, or when it came. So, as far as I know, it has not come, and the Quran came after Solomon's kingdom. So, why would God talk about that if it has already come? Why would He waste time? I mean, maybe he told us of what happened, but I don't believe that. I think the second promise is coming now with what is happening in front of us over the last century or so. These Western nations, the sons of Israel, have been warring, and they're high in the earth. There is no doubt. And the tide is turning. If you don't see the tide turning, you are blind. You are unaware oblivious of what actually is going on in the earth. They're hiding most of what's going on, obviously, but it will come to light eventually. This will come to bear. People will see what's actually happening. They have hollowed out their people. It's not about your wealth. It's about the people and your faith and your righteous acts and your wrongdoing. It has nothing to do with your wealth or your military or the power or control you have. It's nothing to do with that. You people measure the things in the wrong way. To be measured in the right way and to be judged in the right way is with truth, righteousness, justice. Those who speak the truth, and before that, those who have the faith, those who believe and they do the righteousness. There's no evil or good. It's right and wrong. So those who do right are higher than those who do wrong. And those who do right are those who do what the book tells them to do. And those who do wrong are those who do the things the book tells them not to do. And the books are clear. The Torah, the Injil, the Quran, the righteous acts are written in them. You have all destroyed them. You have manipulated them with your devilish, satanic ways, and you have massacred the truth of God while it stands in front of you. And you continue to do that, and you think you're going to get away with it. Well, that is not going to happen. Nobody's getting away. So anyway, so I'm going to show you where this stuff is written in the chapter 17, the two sections where I can see clearly what's going on and what God is depicting. So here in chapter 17, we're told, and the Spirit is speaking here, and then obviously the red is God, and we brought Moses the book, and we made it guidance to sons of Israel. And what they told? Surely don't you take from other than me a disposer. So this is what God told the sons of Israel. And of course it matters to the rest of us as well. It applies just as much to everyone else. So he is the disposer. He is the lawyer. He is going to dispose of everything. So take him as the disposer. Progeny of those we carried with Noah. Surely he is a servant thankful. So just praising Noah over here for what he was. And we decided to sons of Israel in the book. This book is the mother of the book, which is also, this information obviously is in the Torah and the Quran and the Bible, the Injil. To your surely warring in the earth twice, and to your sure highness, highness great. So this is what God told them. So now they're told, this was God told them back then, and now the Spirit tells you. So when came promise, first of them both, we brought out over you servants to us with war severe, but they entered between the homes, and was a promise fulfilled. So this, who are the servants? The pharaohs. Everybody is a servant to God, by the way. So when you say, which servants? Yeah, the satanic servants, the pharaohs and the rejectors who overcame all the sons of Israel. Then we turned to you the turn over them, and we added you with wealth and sons, and we made you much numbers. So now you're being added. When the Quran came, you were already on the rise in numbers, the sons of Israel. Whenever the Quran came in 600, they say 630 odd AD, 627. If you good, you're good to your souls, and if you evil, but to her. The soul is a her, by the way. We're all female entities in our intrinsic forms, the souls, covered by a female or woman body or a male or man body, but the essence of all of us, which is the soul, that most of you believe does not exist, is actually a female. But when comes promise the other, to their maligning your faces, and to their entering the mosque like what they entered it first time, and to their destroying what high? Destruction. So the mosque, the word mosque is either synagogue, church, whatever you want to call a place of worship of God is a mosque or a church or a synagogue. How could they have entered it then when there was supposedly no Islam, yeah, which is another joke, yeah. So they will enter the mosque. Which mosque is this? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, it could be the mosque in Makkah, the Masjid al-Haram, the sanctified mosque, or the mosque in Jerusalem, which is the mosque, the Aqsa Mosque. So which one it is? We can argue about that, doesn't matter. They will enter it and everything will be destroyed, Their Highness. Yeah, not the mosque may or may not be destroyed, they will enter the mosque. And everything high will be destroyed. All that you've created, all your technology, everything will be massacred and decimated. Then maybe your Lord, that He mercies you. And if you turn back, we will return. And we make hell to the rejectors difficult. Surely this, the Quran, it guides to which hair firmer, and it informs the believers, those, they do the righteousness. Surely to them reward great. So, you're being told that maybe your Lord will mercy you. So after this destruction, the smoke will come, maybe around that destruction, and that destruction will be caused by the smoke. I don't know. It all could be true, that He may destroy you with that smoke, or He may destroy you in another method, and then the smoke will come. But when the smoke comes, when He says maybe your Lord will mercy you, He will. When the smoke comes and the earth is decimated and we are covered by smoke and we shout and scream for the help of God, God will turn back and He will lessen the smoke punishment before the end. And then if you turn, we will return, you will turn back. So this is pointing to that aspect, that even after the absolute devastation that's going to come, the punishment grievous, the smoke that will cover all of mankind, God will mercy us after that, mankind. And we will turn back to our own ways. And thus we will then be taken and massacred completely. The whole creation will end and the final judgment will occur. That's a long ways away as far as I can see. I don't know when that's going to happen, but that is certainly not quote unquote close from our perspective, because all these things are supposed to still happen for sure in my mind. So now if you go in the same chapter, you go towards the end, it completes the story with the story of Moses, just to complete that this is not just being said as a passing thing and there's nothing to worry about. No, this punishment is coming. Yeah. So let me get to this place where. So here is the second part to confirm the story of the second promise. So, and already we brought Moses 9 signs clear, but ask sons of Israel, behold, came to them, but said to him Pharaoh, surely I, to my thinking you, O Moses, to be mystified. He said, this is what Moses said, already you know, not sends down these except Lord of the heavens and the earth's sights, and surely I, to my thinking you, O Pharaoh, to be destroyed. But intended that he take them away from the earth. So this is what Pharaoh tried to do with Moses and his people. So we drowned him and those with him altogether. And we said from after him to sons of Israel. So now this is the first promise, confirming that that was the first promise. Establish the earth. But when comes promise, the other, we will come with you together. So now they have come together, the sons of it. Obviously, this is known now. We have enough information that they are all together. They have banded together. Of course, they're not all together. They keep fighting between themselves, but they are together against the rest of humanity. And they are high and they're controlling everything, and they've been warring over the last century and a half, yeah? And with the truth we send it down, and with the truth sent down, and not we sent you except informer and warner. That's to me, and was to Muhammad, and is to every other messenger after Muhammad. We are all sent as informers and warners, and not are we sent except informers and warners. We inform and we warn. And a Quran, we separate it to your reading it over the mankind, over stoppages, and we send it down, sending down. So this is being sent down to me over the last 20 odd years, this Quran. And I've read it, separating it over stoppages over the last 50, and now it's finished. I've finished the delivery, everything, the light of God has been completed again, and it is available to all of you. And it must be done because God does not destroy a generation till He brings out a messenger. There is no way God's punishment will come before a messenger is brought out and the message is delivered. The message does not need to be accepted, and it will not be accepted because the messenger is sent at a time when there is absolute lies and deception, deceit on the earth against God. Not understanding the true deception, they are deceived by the life of the world, and they're following their thoughts and desires other than the reality and truth, which is God, and then what He's told you to do in His books. So then I'm commanded to say, believe with it or not you believe. And then the Spirit says, surely those brought the knowledge from before it. When it read over them, they fall towards the chins prostrating, and they say, glory our Lord, if is promise of our Lord to be fulfilled. So why would be saying this? If it's promise of our Lord to be fulfilled, it's to be fulfilled. It's going to be fulfilled when that punishment. And they know this is the sons of Israel, and they fall towards the chins. They're crying, and it adds them humility. And these idiots, called so-called Muslims or not, they say they fall to the ground. Fall to the chins is you just basically lower your chin to your chest. Your chins fall to your chest. You just put your head down and accept the reality. Those who know the Torah properly, those who know the Injil properly, the Bible, they will know this is the truth, and they know it's coming. It's not the end is they're misinformed, or they are in misguidance, or they're misguided that the end days are coming now. This is not the end days. The end days will come afterwards. First, the sons of Israel have to be destroyed. Jesus has to return. The smoke has to come. And then God will give us another chance where He will reduce the punishment a little. It will not go away once the smoke comes. And that's another sign that the smoke has not yet come. Once the smoke comes, there will be no going back to the earth of old like we're used to with all the bounties. It will be much more limited. And I don't know how many people will be left. I certainly don't want to be there when that starts because it will be a disaster. And then the end will come, which is a lot of other things. Gog and Magog, the moon will split, the sun and moon will join. I mean, those stuff is all written in the Bible and the Torah as well. But I just wanted to focus on this, that the end is not coming. The end of this generation coming, and the sons of Israel, who are the Western nations as a whole, and all the Jews and the Christians in general, their hegemony is going to be decimated. It's going to be destroyed. They can do nothing to stop it. They have no choice, and they know it as well. But the problem is the pharaohs also knew when Moses came that the guy is going to come, is going to be a destruction over them. They were warned of it. And they tried to kill every son of Israel. And then Moses ended up in the palace with Pharaoh, growing up under his eyes and his care, the one that was going to be his destruction. Yeah. So understand that God can make it work any way He wants. You will never know what's coming and hitting you, ever. So now is the time that the second promise is about to come. Be ready to what is coming, and it's all in front of you today what's going on. I mean, it's not hidden from you anymore. Maybe it was hidden 5 years ago or 10 when I started speaking about this, but it isn't now. But you will not believe because you are too deluded in your deception and your fundamental lies that you believe, and what the construct of your so-called world that you think you live in is. You will never be able to understand this because it comes from a different perspective, a perspective that has been lost by you like it has been for all generations before you, and thus you will be ended like all those generations before you. It will be ended soon.